Hi everyone, it's Jan from Jannplansthings, and welcome to my Plan With Me video for week 3 of August. So I like to sneak in a cat every few weeks, so I've decided this week was the week, and so you can see me start to draw it here now. And I reckon the best way to start if you want to draw a fat cat is to kind of draw a snowman. You can see me during this video keep on changing my mind about how I want him to be sitting, so basically what I do is I draw an oval for the head, an oval for the body, and then I slowly add the two front paws and then the two back paws. So I think you guys have seen my cat a few times. The first time I actually drew a space cat I think was for August last year, but I like to have one in every now and again, just because you guys would go insane if I did an entire month of cats. But I do like to try and incorporate a little exploring cat in all the months, so maybe I'll sneak some more in the future as well. And they're a bit fun to draw because they're you have to use a little bit of a different technique to draw them compared to, say, a normal watercolor, because like a watercolor of, like, say, the stars, because the way a cat's coloring is, it works better if they're a little bit splotchy, and I think that's actually perfect for the leuchtturm because of the way it dries. You get a little bit of edging to each of the colors, so drawing a cat actually works really well, and it's a fun way to practice watercoloring technique in your book. So the way I designed it this week was to have the cat sitting amongst like an orbiting field of planets, and I also wanted to use a lot of gold, so I've got him hugging giant stars. So I'm very aware that scale does not work this way, but I thought it'd be like a nice fun way to do things. And I do like to draw, when I'm drawing the cats, I do like to use the Pentel pocket brush pen, even though it does bleed through, because I feel like it gives like a really nice like flick to the line, and it gives it a little bit more character, especially when you're drawing like soft fur. So you don't want like you don't want like a really fat line across everything. So I like doing like the smaller strokes with this pen, which is why whenever there's a cat week, I tend to use this pen to draw. And I find that what I do on the following page is just notes or something, so I don't actually have it on one of my key spreads right afterwards to save the back of the page. So what else say? I wanted to also thank you guys for all your support. I can't believe so many people have watched my watercoloring video. It's a long video, and so many of you actually watched the whole thing, so I'm so glad that you found that helpful. I basically use those techniques on all of my spreads nowadays when I'm watercoloring, so if you ever have any questions or anything, you can refer back to that video. And I apologize for that slight windy sound. I think my laptop is trying to take off into outer space itself. So the other thing is that I've managed to reach 40,000 followers this week. Honestly, I can't believe it, because there was like a period of time where my account had zero growth at all, and it changed when I decided to start painting in my journal, and you guys have been so receptive of that. So I'm so thankful for everyone and their kind comments, and the fact that you all are so supportive, and you just keep on getting me to create. So right after the giveaway finishes, we choose to do for this gorgeous notebook cover that you can see, the holographic cover that I've been using the last couple of weeks, I've organised with Mossery to create another giveaway for you guys for one of their new thread-bound notebooks. I've got a review for that notebook coming up really soon, and it's been really fun to use as well. It's got really great paper if you want to do a lot of drawing in it like I do. So now back to the video on hand. I'm using Daniel Smith watercolors. I've had a lot of people ask me what the difference between student grade watercolors and artist grade watercolors is, and I'm going to do a video where I'm using the student grade watercolors, the Kuru Tombow. watercolors, and what you find the biggest difference is basically the amount of filler or the type of filler that they use in the pigments. And I think Kurotake actually has one of their versions all vegan as well, so a lot of the paints, like the really pigmented ones, uses like chromium or something like that, so it's like heavy metals. So you don't ever want your pets like licking wet paint. So whenever you see me having my cat touch the paints, it's all dry already, so that he can't like get anything on him. So that's just something to be aware of as well. But the student grade colors, they use a slightly different binding agent, or the binding agent isn't as clear, so you might not get as clear colors, so they might come off a bit chalky. Like if you think about the really cheap palettes you can buy from the dollar store, and they're like pressed in, they look like little makeup pans, and they all look kind of like powdery, and that's because of the binding agent that they use there. And when you paint with them, it actually looks powdery as well. So the more money you spend, basically the more the base pigment is. So you also find that with really expensive watercolors, even within the range, you can buy a tube for $7, you can buy a tube for $30, depending on how rare the actual pigment is. So that's just something to take into account. But I think a lot of the basic colors that everyone has they use the same base pigments anyway. So if you're using your base palette of 16, you don't have to worry about that too much. But that's the biggest difference between all of them. And you can notice after a while. But the thing is, if you're just painting in your journal and you're just practicing, I don't actually think that you need really, really expensive watercolors, because it's not like you're painting them to sell them. I invested in them because I sometimes do commissions, but otherwise I think that you should probably, don't try and spend all the money all at once. Just like have some fun and just try a couple of the cheaper ones first, so that if it's not your thing, you haven't wasted a lot of money on it. But I think, to be honest, it makes a bigger difference having a good watercolor brush compared to really expensive watercolors between the student and the artist grade editions of a lot of paints. So I find the student grades of like Winsor Newton are fine to use in a situation like this. And I'll do a couple of paintings. Actually, a couple of my past paintings were done with the Kurotakes, and I don't think anyone really noticed either. It's only me when I'm painting, so that's just something to consider as well. I've had a lot of fun this week just drawing a few of these little constellation lines. I'm actually finding that I'm getting better at drawing the thin lines around the stars, but I really need to remember to draw from the left first, so that I don't have to hover my hand over the page when I'm drawing these, because I keep sticking my hand in the paint and stamping it everywhere and having to draw more stars. So that's just something that you guys should don't do what I do in that case either. Just try and be patient and start on from the opposite side of whatever hand that you're using to paint with. And what else have I got to mention? Yes, so a lot of you have been asking about this Fine Tech palette. I think so Kurotake just came out with a palette that looks almost exactly like this, but they have square pans. So I think the guys at one of the local stores nearby is going to send me a sample, so I can try that, and I'll show it to you guys, because it's a little bit more accessible, especially for Australians, than this palette. It's just this palette, especially after Amazon stopped shipping to Australia, is a little bit harder to source nowadays. But I do really enjoy putting the gold in the palette, so I'm hoping that you guys aren't sick of it just yet. I just find it really nice to add a little bit of sparkle as you go through. So I've been using the deep blue gold for the stars, and then just a little bit of the paler gold to make the globe around the cat just more shiny, just add a little bit of glow. So I also changed the color scheme for this week. I was going full purples and blues, and I kind of just wanted to blend it into a little bit of a softer like peach gold color to match my cover actually. So the cat this time, I feel like because when I'm painting a cat, I'm more likely to paint him slightly warm because I don't want them to be such cool colors. So in order to complement the overall look of the painting a bit more, I mixed the blues that I normally use with a little bit of the pink and purples to warm up the color of the cloud a bit. And I'm actually really happy with the result. It just feels a little bit like the cat's falling into a cloud that's like just at sunset or something instead of in the middle of the night like I had before. And I'm okay with this. I think I might experiment more with the cloud colors as well. And I'm not sure if I'm the only one who does this, but I find that I can't write properly if the paper is perpendicular to myself. I find that I write a lot neater and clearer if I tilt the pages, so that's what you see me doing here. I'm just actually flipping it over so that I'm just preparing myself for lettering. I've decided to use black watercolour as my base to do my dots this time, because I find that drawing on watercolour makes the white really pop when you're using the white jelly roll or the uni balls just to draw the numbers. I just have to do a few layers so that it makes it a lot darker. So that's just something that you might want to consider as well. I find that not all black bases are made equal if you're wanting to draw white on top of them. For example, like the Tombow brush pen, if I write on top of it with a white pen, it just doesn't show up at all. Like the ink goes slightly blue-green. So when you're doing that, just do a test first so that you don't draw your entire picture. And if you're relying on white a lot with something that whoops, my cat made a cameo just then. He was really upset with me during this entire time because I was drawing him instead of actually playing with him. But I think I gave him a few treats afterwards, so he was okay with it. But yeah, just be careful when you're drawing with whites afterwards. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think I got the little stamp of approval from Humphrey, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks a lot, and bye!